Namo Namaha friends, I am RRK. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things bookish. September 10th is Ganesha Chaturthi here in India, and in honor of the ongoing celebrations and festivities, I will be doing a Lord Ganesha themed video today. So as mentioned in my September TBR video, Lord Ganesha is one of the most revered gods in India. He is known as the remover of obstacles, as the Lord of beginnings and much more. His murti is depicted with the face of an elephant, and people think of Lord Ganesha before starting any new venture. It could be a kid's first day in school, or you could be starting a new business, you could be entering into your new house. No matter what the occasion is, it's Lord Ganesha that we think of before starting anything auspicious. He's also the scribe for one of the biggest and everlasting epic from India, the Mahabharata. It was so exhaustive and complicated that Vedavyasa, the author of Mahabharata, thought that nobody but Lord Ganesha could write it because he is the only one who could do it without any errors. There are many Puranic tales and folk tales associated with him, and he is revered throughout India, South Asia, and even in Japan. So let's get started with the prompts and books, shall we? As I said, Ganesha symbolifies auspiciousness. Everything constructive usually starts with a prayer to him. So the first prompt, I thought I need to read something that signifies beginnings. So it could be your first book in any particular genre, or it could be the first book in a series. It could even be a book that starts with the first letter in the alphabet. I thought we could get creative, but I went with the first book in the series. So I read Rise of the Gods by Dyrk Ashton, which is his first book in the Paternus Trilogy. Incidentally, this is a trilogy that I wanted to read in my priority series quarterly challenge. I think I was supposed to read in this quarter, if I'm not wrong. So I thought this is very timely. Rise of Gods is an urban fantasy story, and Dyrk Ashton has managed to pull out a story of such a huge scope with panache. He has included a vast array of mythological and legendary characters from all over the world, so much so that it was almost a roll call of all of them, from Hindus, Devas to Asuras to many other recent popular deities in culture. I'm sure you will find at least one of them that you are familiar with. With such a vast array of characters, I thought that this will be a hodgepodge of a story, but thankfully it was not. It was quite comprehensive. Now, the story is very straightforward. Fiona and Zeke work in a hospital meant for the elderly. They take care of the elderly. One day, they find themselves in the midst of a shootout, which turns into an unbelievable slugfest between the gods and the demons, who were till then believed to be simply legends of the lore. Though I enjoyed the beginning of the story and the introductions of many of my favorite mythological characters, towards the end, it became a bit too nonsensical for me. The blurb is right. It is very similar to American Gods, so much so that even the writing is very similar to Neil Gaiman's writing, albeit it is in the American style. I gave this book 3.5 stars because I thought this is a book that's meant to be an adaptation. One of the very few books that I thought I would enjoy the adaptation more than the book itself, and I am rethinking on my decision to finish this series. As of now, I'm putting this series on hold. Next, Ganapati is known for learning. Since he is the patron lord of learning, my second prompt was to read a book that has some sort of a message, maybe a moral or any new information that is very helpful to you. For this prompt, I went with Lion by Saru Braley. So this book is about an Indian child, Saru, who gets lost in Kolkata and eventually gets adopted by an Australian family. Now, he is raised so lovingly and so well that he musters the courage to go back and try to find his Indian family back home. Does he find that family? How he finds his family and what happens after he finds his family forms the crux of the story. Now, I usually do not rate autobiographies because I do not think it to be decent to judge somebody's life story, to judge somebody's experience, but I found the writing to be very approachable, very smooth. This book was, as expected, a very poignant story of two families. One thing that I really appreciated in this book is that Saru doesn't romanticize poverty the way some authors do. I am sort of done with people romanticizing poverty and sensationalizing suffering. He has not done that, and I really appreciated him for that. He also doesn't blame his tribulations on the society, on country. He doesn't berate his countrymen for whatever has happened to him. He doesn't have that victim complex. He shows a maturity. He shows the stuff that he's made up of. He's quite resilient. That was really an excellent thing that I took away from this book. So the message I derived from this book is that even under the worst circumstances, something beautiful can shine through you. Now, Gajanana is known as the god with the face of an elephant, and we all know that elephants are known for their memory. So is our Lord Gajanana. He is known as the god of memory. Not only that, he's also known for wisdom and wit. So I thought maybe we could have a prompt where you could read a childhood favorite, or maybe you could read a book that has been in your TBR for the longest time, or you could read a classic. Initially, I went with the Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde for this prompt, mainly because it is a beloved classic, but I couldn't get past 20% of the book. I really didn't like the characters in the story. I once again realized that philosophy is really the pastime of the privileged. I think I can no longer tolerate despondent books. If all I wanted was sensational representation of man's descent into madness and depravity, then I only have to watch the hundreds of news channels out there. I mean, these days, journalists and media, they can cook up sensational, tragical stories that would literally put fictional writers to shame. So if I really wanted something dramatized, then all I have to do is check those news channels. I don't need to sit and read a classic for that. And I think in a bygone era where this 24/7 hyper news wasn't there, this kind of a book might have created quite a stir. But in this age, when people are more jaded than ever, this kind of a book, I do not know how much of an effect it could have on people. So irrespective of whether it is a classic or not, I think this book is just not for me. I no longer gravitate towards books that solely exist to show the depravity of man. Yeah, that's what it is. But the point is that I couldn't read beyond 20% of the book, and I did read the summary in Wikipedia, and I realized this is something, no matter how good the writing is, this is something that I am not at all interested in reading. So I picked up Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, which is a Holocaust story and his survival philosophy. Again, this is also an autobiographical book, and obviously I'm not going to rate that book. I have not been able to finish it because I started it just a day back, and I don't want to rush myself into finishing it just for the sake of a prompt. I want to sit and read that book and digest the contents of it, because though that book is very tiny, I'm sure it is a loaded book. It's a very traumatic experience of a man who has survived Holocaust. Not only that, he is a doctor, a psychologist, so he has commented on his survival philosophy and generally the psychology of people who have survived the Holocaust. So yes, I want to finish that book and I will be completing it this month. So you will be able to see my opinions or thoughts about that book in my wrap-up this month. Then Vinayaka is also known as the remover of obstacles. Now, not only can he remove obstacles, he is also known to be a barrier to you at times. Now, you must not forget that Vinayaka was an excellent Dwarapalaka for his mother. So, not only does he prevent obstacles, but he is also known to stop you from straying from the path of dharma. He is an excellent guru, an excellent mentor. So I thought for this particular prompt, I will be reading a book that features a very good mentor-mentee relationship. I read The Ruins of Gorlan by John Flanagan. Now, apparently this is a 10-book series, but then they later on added a short story collection as well as, I think, a follow-up book that features a time jump to the series again, and I'm sure there are many other spin-offs and prequels etc. added on to the series. I have never heard of this series before, and I'm sure I wouldn't have heard of this series if I had not gone searching for an excellent mentor-mentee representation. Now, this is a story of an orphan named Will who becomes an apprentice because the series name is Ranger's Apprentice. So he becomes an apprentice to a man and ranger called Halt, and this is the story of Will's adventures with his mentor Halt and his friend Horace. I enjoyed this book immensely. It had action, it had emotional connections between people, it had friendship, it had sacrifice, it had everything that you usually would expect from a fantasy novel. As I said, I chose this book mainly because of the mentor-mentee relationship, and people weren't exaggerating. It really features an excellent teacher-student dynamic. Halt is an amazing mentor and Will is also a very willing student. So it's very difficult to find such a disciplined student these days. So that was also an excellent representation. I absolutely adored Halt and Will. I gave the first book an easy 4.5 stars cause the story flowed super smoothly, the plot was flawless, and the characters were very endearing. I really liked the way the author has handled the important, sensitive, but often overlooked topic of bullying. I think this is one of the most underrated series ever. I am very happy with the book I chose for this prompt. So those were the books I read for my Ganesha Chaturthi special video. Have you read any of these books? Were you able to think of books that could have suited these prompts better? Let me know your suggestions, feedback in the comment section below. All my socials are mentioned in the description box below, so feel free to reach out to me with any questions or comments if you like. If you have enjoyed my content till now, please lend your support by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Also, please don't forget to hit that notification bell. I will talk to you guys again in my next video. Until next time, stay safe, happy and healthy. Om Shanti.